Hi, I'm Fifi. Welcome to FifiQuest. This is episode 1 of my new podcast. Um, well, I guess I'm going to explain to you guys the point of this all. This show is called FifiQuest. If you don't know me, I used to be a stand-up comic, a male stand-up comic named Joe Dosch. I am now a female stand-up comic named Fifi Dosch because I am gonna transition. Yeah. So what I thought I'd do was I would create this podcast that's going to document the whole thing. I thought it'd be every new episode I would talk about what's going on in my transition, and I thought there's just a lot of weird stuff that goes on with the whole thing, and I thought I would just give periodic updates and talk about the whole thing because it's interesting and weird. It's really weird. You know what? I gotta say, it's kind of not. It's not that weird. It really isn't. I mean, I went into the whole thing. Part of me was like, this is gonna be so hard, and who knows? It's such a big thing, and I don't know all the stuff I'm gonna have to do. It's like you go to Kaiser, and they go, "Yeah, we'll get you an appointment with the hormone guy," and then you go do it, and then they give you a vagina in a year if you want. It's really easy, is what I'm learning. It's like it's like okay. Going in to the doctor to talk about gender reassignment stuff, it's like going to buy a gun, honestly. It's like you go into this room, it's like you sit in a little tiny ceilinged box with like a disturbingly political man, and he's just like, yeah, I'd give you everything you want today, but we're gonna do paperwork because of the fucking government. And it's just it's like, oh fuck. Hold on one sec. I'm gonna plug in my computer right now because the screen just went dark on me. So, one moment, everybody. Okay. I'm not editing this out. I'm leaving this in because this podcast is about vulnerability. Anyway, here we go. Yeah, I think that is something I want to talk about the whole thing is how not difficult the whole process really is. I mean, there's stuff to do. There's like walking through fear involved, but it's just a series of little things to do every day. Like today, I'm gonna go get some more clothes. Today, I'm going to make an appointment with the doctor. Today, I'm going to go to the appointment with the doctor. Yeah, it's something I can do. And in years past, I was really, really intimidated by big things. I found big changes in life like prohibitively difficult. I would load myself up with things like, oh, if I'm going to do that, it's going to be such a pain in the ass. I had this mentality like everything is such a pain in the ass and life was against me and therefore not worth living and not, I had a very small life. I'm doing some work on myself in various programs that you're not supposed to say you're a member of, wink. And one thing I had always looked at myself kind of pre-recovery and pre-working on myself. I looked at and this is dark, but it's the truth. Getting awful heavy on episode 1. I had always looked at myself like life was this big banquet table where everyone else in life was allowed to sit at and take all the love and happiness and everything that they needed to get from it. And I always looked at myself like I was a little rat that lived in the walls. And if I had to get what I needed out of life, I had to scurry out through it and grab a crumb of it off the table and run away before anyone saw me, because they'd look at me like I was a disgusting rat. And a lot of the work I've done on myself has made me realize I am not a rat. I am a beautiful person. I don't have to rush and struggle for little crumbs of life. I can walk up leisurely and slowly and beautifully at my own pace, and sit at the table with everyone else and take all the love and prosperity and friendship and all the good things in life that I need. That really helped me not be intimidated by the scope of transitioning. It made me think like, hey, this is a big thing, but A, I'm worthy of big things. B, I'm capable of big things, because all big things really are is just a series of well-intentionedly lived days, and I can live a single day at a time. So, God. Can you guys notice my 5 o'clock shadow or me? That's okay. I'm not nagging myself. The eye doctor said I had to get the hypoallergenic makeup because my eyeshadow gave me an eye infection, and I had to wear my goddamn boy glasses for 2 weeks. And she's all like, Fifi, you can't wear makeup for at least a month until your follow-up. And I'm like, go fuck yourself, Dr. Nishida Eugenio. Anyway. So that's the spirit I'm trying to take into all of this. What else I want to share with you guys right now about it on the first podcast, because I guess this is all like, I'm going to be doing lots of different stuff and seeing how my life changes all around it, and hopefully some interesting, funny shit happens on it. It will, and I'll tell you all that, but now I'm just going to give you the jumping off point to the whole thing. If you knew me before all this, I always identified as a gay man, and in retrospect, I never really felt comfortable in that. I was like, well, this is kind of okay, kind of what I want. And a funny thing too is, like, there was a time, maybe like the whole last year, I was like, I wasn't identifying as trans, I wasn't identifying as a woman, like I identified as a gay man, but I was wearing makeup out, and I started wearing like feminine tops. I was like, oh hey, I could wear this girl's blouse, I could wear this with jeans, that would be cute and cool. That progressed into wearing dresses and doing that whole thing, but I was still living as a guy, and my whole vibe was like, hey, I'm a gender non-conforming gay man, I don't give a fuck about anybody, I'm punk and everything, blah, blah, blah. Okay. And people were kind of like, yeah, okay, sure. I think a lot of people called me transitioning before I did. I'm really grateful for that period of my life, because when I was sort of like, I remember the first day I was like, I decided I'm just gonna wear a dress today. That's what I'm wearing. I remember that first day I was really, really, really scared, and like very, 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 nobody gave a shit. Nobody did. In fact, a lot of people said, a lot of strangers told me I looked pretty and what I was doing was cool. That let me be like, okay, like if I want to, I can be a boy in a dress, and that can just be the person I am. I think that really helped me, because now, I mean, I'm not on hormones yet. I'm not going to pass for a while. And I don't care because I don't. Obviously, I would like to pass. That's the direction I'm going. But that time in my life made me content to look like a boy in a dress. And if that's what I look like for a while, I don't give a fuck because I'm doing my thing, and I can do that thing. I walked through that big fear that said you can't do this. People are gonna think you're a freak. People are gonna think you're weird. Nobody gave a shit, and I was like, oh, I can be who I am happily. And I don't want to go. I want to feel happy and big now. Right fucking now. I don't want to wait till I get tits. I don't want to wait till I pass to be a big presence in life exactly as I am. Cuz I feel like if I'm going to kind of hide and cover myself in a fucking, cover myself in a hoodie, which is like, a silver like burqa essentially, and I don't want to hide until I can hide. That doesn't seem like a goal I'm looking for. Like, I'm going to sneak through life until I can really pass as a woman, and then I can sneak more easily. I'm done sneaking. Yeah. Wow, I feel so good, you guys. I feel so awesome. One thing I noticed pre-transition was I never smiled in pictures ever. I either looked grumpy or I always hated watching myself try to smile because I felt like an alien trying to mimic human emotion. It just didn't look right. And it wasn't right. I wasn't happy. And I look really happy in pictures now. So that, and that's another real thing I noticed that made me I felt like pre-transition I always felt like no one trusted me. Not friends exactly, but I always felt people in stores or my eyes are dry, excuse me. I always felt like people in stores were just put off by me, like they were creeped out by me somehow, or they thought like they treated me like they thought I might do something bad. I always felt like people in stores, when I would try to be kind to them pre-transition, they treated me like I was a crazy person on the street who might snap, and it drove me crazy because I am like, why does life look at me this way? Why is life so put off by me? I'm a decent person. Why is everyone treating me this way? I feel this vibe off people, and it's because I was lying. It's because I was lying about who I was. And when you lie about who you are, people go like, well, if you're covering that up, what else are you covering up? You're not trustworthy. I don't feel like it was possible for me to tell the truth in life if I didn't live it as a woman. Period. And it really wasn't. And that's an interesting thing too, because it's not the energy around like why I decided to do this and when. It was not me going, okay, I didn't take out a piece of paper and go, what am I like? What would be good for me? What's the identity that would best suit my needs? I didn't figure it out. It was a thing that like clicked on one day. It was a thing I realized about myself one day, and then the question was, am I going to live honestly or am I not? And the only reason I could think to not do that was just self-centered fear. It was either self-centered fear or I never had any resistance to transitioning that was like, well, this isn't real. This isn't really what's happening. You're not really trans. You're not a woman. What's really going on is it didn't take on that energy. When I would really stop and examine what my resistance was, it was me thinking, yeah, well, but hey, come on. You're supposed to stay really small. And hey, come on. Like, yeah, you'd be happy, but you're not really supposed to be that happy. Or life's not supposed to be that good. Or who do you think you are? You're not worthy of feeling that happy. And when I can write that down and look that down and look that in the face, that's very. I'm not happy that that's floating around my psyche, but it's when I can articulate it like that, it's very easy to say no to. That is no reason at all to do any kind of decisions in life, major or minor. I feel like I'm like sharing something like really major with you guys, but I'm staring into myself in the QuickTime video, and I'm like, oh, do I look cute like this? Like, God. Uh, um, I felt like this was a thing. The fact that I'm trans, it was a thing that like always kind of hovered around my mind, and it was always kind of like scurrying around, and then one day it just lined up, and I just looked it right in the face, and I'm really, really happy, you guys. I'm just really happy. Um, okay. Sorry about that, everyone. I had a computer issue. Um, I wasn't crying. Oh, maybe a little. Okay. I think I guess like I should maybe elaborate on some of the technical aspects of what I'm talking about because maybe like not everyone does. Okay. When I say like I'm starting transitioning, they all that means is they call it social transitioning first. That just means like you are out as a trans person. Um, you identify as like you identify as whatever you identify. Like that. When I say I am transitioning, that was when, or when I say I have been transitioning now, what it means is I go I decided to live as a woman, and that's the way I will live. That's the way I am. I'm not on any drugs yet, and I haven't had any surgeries yet. What'll happen then is I actually had my first appointment with the doctor a couple days ago. What you do is you go in, you get the diagnosis of they call it gender dysphoria, and that's just like the psychological disorder that they need to have something on paper to treat. Um, then what they do is they refer you to an endocrinologist, which is a hormone doctor. You can get, then you start taking your female or male hormones. And then after like a year or so of that, you can get cleared for surgeries. And that's not to be unladylike, but that's having your balls removed. Or it's having your penis turned into a vagina. From what I understand, you don't remove your penis and get a vagina. They turn your penis into a vagina. It's in like embryos, it's the same tissue. I understand. Um, a guy's head of his penis is a woman's clit. That's what it is when just hormones act in on it. So technically, like, um, basically what they do to your penis is they just take and they pull it inside out, and that's your vagina now. What a country. Um, so I'm gonna start hormones relatively soon. Um, I have I have Kaiser Permanente insurance. I don't even like. I think that might just be I don't know how many of those are even across the country. Um, I know it is like a big California health insurance place. They don't have the greatest reputation. I haven't really. I mean, I've had no bad interactions with them really. Um, so I do that. I get on hormones, and then you start to change. Your face turns more feminine. You gain fat deposits in certain areas. You start to grow titties. You get a bigger hips and butt. And look, I tell you, they have this subreddit called Trans Timelines, where it's just people be like, "Hey, I started at this date. Here's me and hormones after a couple months." It's nuts how much people can change. Um, yeah, it. I mean, you look at someone will be like 4.5 months in, and it's like incredible how hot they look. By the way, I'm going to call this out. First episode of this podcast, first episode of FifiQuest. I think when I get on hormones, I'm going to look like a real piece of ass. I don't mind saying it. um, but I want to be really, really positive about this whole thing. Because it has been so far. It has been the most overwhelmingly, amazingly positive experience of my life. I have gotten zero shit about it from anybody. All of my friends think it's amazing. All of my friends there are so happy for me. I grew up in South Dakota. Like it. Ugh. People in Nebraska call people in South Dakota rednecks. Do you understand what I'm saying? And all of them. I came out on Facebook the other day. Everyone is so fucking happy for me. It's been wonderful. I feel like I'm actually here in life now. When I was living as a man, I I always felt like I was like a ghost. Like I was here in life in sense, but something really vital was missing. I felt like I was like I was haunting life and I wanted to get in, but no matter what I did, I couldn't. And now I feel like I'm here. So, and I wanted to share all this and start this podcast. Put all this out there because and it's not. And part of me was like, like bully for me, and I'd love to help anybody else who's going through this whole thing. But we're what, like 0.6% of the population trans people. I was even wondering, like, is this that interesting to that many people? I remember when I came out on Twitter, someone DM'd me the sweetest DM, and they were saying something like, "Hi, you don't know me. I'm a straight dude-ass dude, I want you to know that your post really, really affected me because you talked about living honestly. It made me wonder, like, not about my gender identity, but like, am I living as an honest person? Am I living as who I really am? Am I making choices that reflect that? If not, what the fuck am I doing? And so thank you to that person because you made me think like this is worth listening to. And you know what it's worth listening to? It's worth me putting it out there because I can finally feel like I belong in life. And here's me being part of it and being open. And I think that's... I think that's a big part of being a woman, too, and being feminine, is being open and receptive and being like a big verdant field to just take the seeds of life into yourself and then grow it within you and birth it back out into the universe. I feel like that was a very beautiful metaphor that basically I just said I want to get nutted all over by life. And I do. Literally and figuratively. So, anyway, practical aspects of it. So yeah, I talked about going to the doctor. I talked about what it means when I say I am transitioning. All it means is I'm living as a woman now. I'm going to do all that. I guess I'll talk about some of the other, like, some of the littler things about it. It's people, because someone has said like, that's going to be expensive. It's like, it's as expensive as any other medical thing. It's not particularly, but I'll tell you what is expensive. It's not just buying new clothes, buying makeup, that whole thing. Like, guys, you need to buy a new fucking everything. Look at this. I don't want this boy ass fucking 2009 ass tapestry in my house. I don't want this boy ass bedspread. I don't want this boy ass wallet anymore. It's every thing you own. You want to get a new one, and you can't all right away, or else you go nuts. But, yeah. So there's that, and I also want to talk about people being supportive or not. I come across a lot of people who are supportive. They do want what's best for me. They're happy that I'm doing this. They believe in it. But they're not the most fun to talk about it with because they kind of bring their own shit into it. I am trying very, very, very hard to stay positive about the whole thing. And by the way, I used to be the most negative person in the world. So, no judgment on anyone else. I don't have a... If you knew me when, if you knew me in the 2000s, I don't have a leg to stand on about judging anybody's attitude. Sometimes people, you'll tell me, because I'm trying to be like, this is a big thing, I can do it, I can get the money, I'm capable of getting the money for it, I'm capable of going through the steps for it, I'm capable of walking through all the fear, I'm capable of living this way. That's what I'm doing. That's what I'm telling myself. I am capable. I have the support. But you tell people I'm going to transition. First thing out of their mouth will be something like, how much is that going to cost? Or hell, it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard. It's not going to be hard. Big things in life maybe that, big things like living honestly or following your dreams, or I don't know, whatever you want to do, open a business, go after the job you want, big things like that. I think I don't get off in this whole like I worked hard and I did it was hard and hard and hard and hard and hard, but I did it and I earned it. That kind of thinking does not help me at all. I think we in society we romanticize it too much. I think doing big things like that is easy in that it's easier than not doing them. It's hard as hell to live miserably every day. It's hard as hell to not be the gender you really are. It's hard as hell to be in a job you fucking hate. It's hard as hell to lie about what your feelings really are, about what you really want out of life and who you really are. It's hard as hell to do these things, but it's fucking comfortable. That's the difference. And I don't want to sacrifice happiness for comfort anymore. Oh, but my point with bringing all that with like other people and their resistance, you really realize like that's their shit. It has nothing to do with me. And realizing that, it's made it easier for me to like walk down the street, you know. When someone reacts that way to me, I might say like, okay, well they might be afraid or resistant to do something on this scale. But I'm not. When say I walk down the street and I get like a dirty look, I can go to I can go, well, okay, well, which by the way is not happening often. I want to stress that very clear. I can go, that's their fear. It has nothing to do with me. When people would say something like that, like when people would be like mean to me on, say you run into like a transphobic, homophobic person and people would go, well, that's their fear and that has everything to do with them. I would kind of go, yeah, bullshit. But I've really realized how true that is. And when I'm obsessing about like that kind of things, like I have to admit, like I'm kind of getting off on it. Living in that this person did this to me and how dare this person be like that, and whatever they get on living on that vibration, I got to admit when I'm fighting that out in my head that I'm getting off on that vibration too. It may be reactive for me, it may be like the inverse of it in a weird way, but that is what I'm doing. And I don't I've come to look at complaining and bitching and let's call it sand trap thinking. This whole like nothing's ever gonna work out for me, these fucking people, blah 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 blah. I've come to look at that as like a drug, and I don't do drugs like that anymore. I try not to. Yeah. Yeah, okay. Another thing, comedy. Part of me was like wondering how that would affect my doing stand-up. I haven't been doing as much since I've been out living this way. I think it's been more important to like try to get comfortable with myself. But you know what? I've had so many sets that were... I always felt like I was a really good comedian, but I always felt something was missing. I felt like... I always felt like my comedy was... It felt very... Like it didn't have a lot of warmth. Um, I like dark stuff. I, like I'm an old Opie and Anthony fan. Like that's my kind of sense of humor. Um, and I always felt like a lot of people liked it, but it was missing some like warmth as like the soup base to kind of sell the whole thing. I looked at my comedy like I was performing like, hey, here's this stuff I figured out. Now I'm like, here's me. Um, I remember Gary Shandling in that HBO. No, it was on Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee. He said like your material is just your vessel for your comedic spirit. I felt my comedy before was a lot of vessel, not enough spirit. I feel now that I'm living as Fifi. Um, by the way, did I mention that yet? That's why this podcast is called FifiQuest. Is because my name is Fifi Dosch now. I did. I'm on top of it. So, um, anyway, I feel like now when I'm performing, it's like all. It's. I felt like there was a valve on my spirit before, and now it opened up. Like I remember I opened up the other night. My first show at the store since being out, I opened up with the joke being trans, and I felt like a wave of a new quality of response and enjoyment from the audience, and I was like, "Yep, this is what was missing." Um, by the way, um, everyone at the Comedy Store, from the staff to my fellow comics to the comedy fans who are regulars there, everyone has been so wonderful. Everyone has been so supportive. Everyone has been so happy for me. Everyone has just been gushing and so helpful and so excited, and people are just like they're like coming around to like watch me when I'm going up, and they're like, "Oh, I can't wait to see how Fifi." People who respected my comedy before are so excited to see where I take this, and I love you guys. I respect you all so much as friends. I respect you all so much as artists. I love that you're all in my life. You guys really are my family. I mean, I just love you all. That's the greatest place in the world, the Comedy Store. It's my favorite place. Oh, God. Anyway, well, I think I might call that it for episode 1.